What is going on, everyone? My name is Turk, this is Level 1 News, and today we are going to be reviewing Cuphead. But before I get into that, I wanted to share something a little special with you guys, and it is the Cuphead Funko Pop limited edition figures. So what makes these so special? These are actually limited edition for New York City Comic Con. There are only 2,500 of them that were made. Obviously these are in black and white, and that's one of the main things that makes this really special. There are going to be Cuphead Funko Pop figures coming out later, but those are going to be in color, and they're going to be, you know, a lot more common. These are the only ones that are going to be in black and white, and they just look really cool. Just to kind of quickly give you an overview, on the side here there's the devil, the main antagonist of the game. On the back you got Cuphead and Mugman, and on the side you got that dice guy. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Top is just Cuphead, bottom not much going on over there. But these are really cool figures. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not that big into Funko Pops. I feel like they're all over the place, and more often than not, they all kind of look the same. And I feel like there's like this oversaturation of Funko Pop figures. Whenever you go to a GameStop or a ThinkGeek or any kind of place that has Funko Pop figures, there's always like this giant wall of figures, and half the time it's figures of characters that you don't even care about. But Funko Pop really outdid themselves with this set right here. Obviously these are not made from the typical Funko Pop, you know, mold. These are uniquely crafted. They look like the Cuphead and Mugman characters in the game. And you can see here that they took like a lot of extra special care into making these. So that's what makes this set really stand out, on top of the fact that it's a rare set, is that it just looks really unique. It looks really well done. And like I said, a lot of Funko Pop figures, they end up looking very similar to one another. Not the case here. This looks really nice. This looks really unique. So a really special set. I am not going to be unboxing this because of how rare it is, but I thought I'd figure, you know, this is a good video to just share this with you guys, and I will just kind of leave it off to the side here. So now, Cuphead the game, what did I think about it? I personally really was looking forward to this game. I've been looking forward to it ever since Microsoft showed it off. I think like at E3, like, I don't know what it was, I think it might have been 2014, the first time we saw a trailer of it. Obviously the visuals caught my eye. That classic 1930s cartoon style, it's a very unique style. There's pretty much no other game that looks like this, and I think that's one of the first main things that I feel like the developers just did an excellent job with this game, is the visuals and the presentation of it. It just looks so good, and it really does make you feel like you're playing an actual cartoon that's from the 1930s. The sound is just as good as the visuals. It sounds perfect. It fits perfectly with the visuals of the game. You'll hear a lot of like classic, you know, piano tunes. It just everything about the game, from the visuals to the sound, it just really makes you feel like you're actually playing a 1930s cartoon movie. So it really is just like masterfully done as far as just the quality of the presentation. It's just done really well. And that alone, I feel like makes Cuphead a really special game. But there's the whole gameplay aspect of it that really makes it worth playing the game. Just to give you an overview of the gameplay, there is a world map where you could kind of walk around and pick levels, pick boss battles. So it's not really linear. You kind of get to pick like from a few levels at a time. There are really only two kinds of levels in the game. There are the platformer levels, and then there are the boss battles. The platforming levels are surprisingly difficult, almost as difficult as the boss battles themselves sometimes. And the main draw of this game is the boss battles. And yes, they're really difficult. some of the most difficult boss battles that you've seen in many years. The boss battles are really well designed, and they are, yes, they are really difficult, but they're difficult in like a fair way. Playing through the game, I never felt like the boss battles were cheesy or like artificially difficult. Every time I lost, it was because it was my fault. It was because I wasn't quick enough, or I couldn't figure out the patterns, or you know, whatever. For whatever reason, I knew it was my fault, and it really made me want to come back and fight the boss, because you know, there are plenty of games out there that have bosses, or just, you know, parts to the game in general that you know are just unfairly difficult. It's not even designed well, and you know that it's just a frustrating experience, right? Not the case with Cuphead. They're designed in such a way that they make you want to keep trying, because it strikes this perfect balance where the game is difficult, but you can see yourself beating it. And it's not like you're fighting a boss and you're like, wow, this is like completely impossible, there's no way, this is so frustrating, it's not worth my time. There's something about the game that once you get killed by a boss, you immediately want to get back in there and fight it again. And not a lot of games can pull that off, where you have a boss where you fight over and over again, like 10 times, 20 times, and you still want to keep fighting it. I think there's something about that, and I was surprised at myself that I kept coming back to the game. I'm the type of person that if I come across like a really frustrating area in a game, I'll usually try to do everything that I can to skip it or quickly like get through it, and I'll usually stop playing the game if it's frustrating, right? Like if there's a part that I think is just totally cheap and cheesy, a lot of times I'll just stop playing the game and I'll say, you know what, this isn't worth my time. I found that never really happened with Cuphead for me, and I think it just comes back down to the design of the bosses themselves. They're just designed so cleverly and so meticulously that they're difficult, but they're difficult in a fair way. And I think that's where Cuphead truly shines in its gameplay, is that you want to keep playing it. Even though you get your ass handed to you over and over again, you want to keep coming back, because you know you can beat it. You know you can beat that boss, but the game is just so brutal that you're gonna get killed over and over again. The game really is kind of unforgiving. You only get 3 hit points by default. There are ways to get more health, but even as you progress in the game and you get better attacks and better abilities, you never really get overpowered in the game. There's never a point where the boss battles become easier because of the power-ups and the abilities that you get in the game. Every item has their advantages and disadvantages, and it's up to you to like figure out which item works for which boss. And if you really want to, you can beat the game with just the regular attack, the pea shooter attack. You could beat the game with that if you wanted to. It's going to be a lot harder, but it is possible to do. So you don't really have to get any of the items in the game. And for the bosses themselves, when you do beat the bosses, you really get a sense of accomplishment. I know when I beat like the first few bosses, I definitely got that sense of accomplishment. And I was actually pretty surprised when I first started the game up. You know, I heard that the game was difficult. The first few times I got my ass kicked. Just because of, you know, I just wasn't expecting it to be as difficult as they said it was going to be. And it really shows you how soft a lot of games have gotten in this recent console cycle. A lot of times in games today, you'll have like regenerating health, or you can get items that are overpowered, and a lot of things like that. But not in Cuphead. In Cuphead, it's up to you to figure out how to defeat the bosses. It's up to you to figure out the boss's weaknesses and which attacks work better and which items, which abilities work better on certain bosses. There's no hints, there's no helping, there's no way to get extra health in the middle of a boss battle. So it really is just up to you and your own skills really to beat the game. And that's something that I feel like we don't really get very often in video games today. So that's really the main thing that makes the game special. So it's really like on both sides. The visuals, the presentation is just done so well. It really accomplishes what it wants to do, trying to make it feel like a 1930s cartoon. But it's the gameplay mechanics is where Cuphead really shines and makes it a worthwhile purchase. So I would easily recommend Cuphead. If I were to give it a score, I'd give it an 8.5. I think it is a great game. It's definitely worth checking out. It's an Xbox One exclusive, something that Microsoft really needs nowadays. And the other thing about Cuphead that also makes it really interesting, I think, is the story kind of behind the game. When we first saw Cuphead in the Microsoft press conference at E3 a few years ago, you know, the game was just boss battles. And what happened was Microsoft partnered with the developers of Cuphead and they got them to do platforming levels. And that's one of the reasons why the game was really delayed. I don't know by how much it got delayed, but we had seen Cuphead for several E3s, and a lot of people were kind of wondering when Cuphead was finally going to come out. And overall, I think it was worth the wait. I think Microsoft did a good job by getting them to do platforming levels. It makes the game a little bit more complete. I think if it was just boss battles, it still would have been good. But I think the platforming levels make the game feel a bit more like a complete game. So yeah, that's really all there is to say about Cuphead. I think it's an interesting game. It has an interesting story behind it. It's definitely one of my Game of the Year contenders right now. I really enjoyed playing through it. If you're the type of person that likes a game that, you know, kind of pushes you a little bit, this game is definitely worth checking out. Now, if you're the kind of person that, you know, wants their video game experience to just be casual and just purely for entertainment, then this game is definitely not going to be for you. So that's really all my thoughts on Cuphead. To me, it's one of the best games of the year. So if you enjoyed this review, please like and subscribe. My name is Turk, and thank you for watching Level 1 News.